Hello guys, welcome to BigData Brainiacs YouTube channel. Today I am going to discuss on the how Hadoop stores the data into the HDFS. Let's get started. So basically Hadoop is meant for to store and process the big data. Hadoop is meant for to store and process the big data. So whatever data it is coming to the Hadoop system, so what it does is it can store the data and it can process the data. So now we are going to discuss how the Hadoop system is storing the data, whatever data it is coming to the Hadoop system, how it is being stored into the Hadoop, that is HDFS. Okay. Basically for storing, so HDFS system is there, and for processing we have yarn or MR job process. Okay. Basically for store, we'll be storing the data into the HDFS file system, and to process it we will be using the AND or map reduce jobs process in the Hadoop system. So basically what is HDFS means, it's a Hadoop. Okay, let me write over here. Right, first let's understand what is the HDFS. So HDFS means basically it is a Hadoop distributed file system. Hadoop is HDFS means Hadoop Distributed File System. It is totally different than the our Windows file system. Okay, and we can able to store the data into the my HDFS system, but I can able to store the data, but I cannot able to edit the data. I cannot able to edit the data. I cannot, but I can store the data. I can retrieve the data. Okay, I can retrieve the data. I can store the data, but I cannot able to edit the data. Right. So let's say suppose. So let's say I will be getting the. I want to store my 1 GB of file. 1 GB file into my Hadoop system. That is to HDFS. So basically Hadoop is like a master and slave node cluster. Master and slave node cluster. So what is a master and slave node means, here I will be having a single master and I will be having a multiple cluster, multiple slaves. Right, I will be having a multiple slaves. Okay, the data will comes to the master. So once the data comes to the master, what it does is it will store the data into the whatever my 1 GB data it is there. It will store my data into these all clusters, all nodes, into my all clusters. These things I can say it is a cluster. Sorry, slave nodes or data nodes. So this one I can call it as a master node or name node. Right, so here whatever data it is coming, my 1 GB, I want to store it. So first Hadoop system, what it does is, first it will give the data to the master node, and this master node will decide the data to which node it needs to be stored. So based on that the data gets stored into this nodes, cluster nodes, data nodes. Okay, and consolidated, this one we will be calling as a cluster, that is Hadoop cluster. I will call it as a Hadoop cluster, right? So this is entirely things we call it as a Hadoop cluster. Okay, so at end of the day at the master node you don't see any of the data, but at slave nodes you can see the data. In master node it contains the metadata, it holds the metadata. At master node it holds the metadata of data, which means so let's say suppose this 1 GB I'm storing, right? So this 1 GB in which clusters the data is resides, so that information is getting stored in the master node. Okay, now we'll see how the master node will store the data into these slave nodes. Okay, now next we will see how master node save data into data nodes. How it is storing? Basically in the Hadoop system we have a block size, right? So first what it does is my okay, first what it does is the data is going to store in the blocks wise. First data gets splits into blocks, and these blocks going to store at data nodes. Okay, so first what it is doing is first the data gets split into the blocks. So these blocks basically can be decided based on your Hadoop configuration, Hadoop system configuration. This could be like a 64 MB or 128 MB. This is a configurable. Okay, this can be configurable at your Hadoop cluster. Okay, based on this one configuration your data gets divided into these blocks. Let's say suppose I have 120 MB as a block size at configuration, my Hadoop configuration. Let's say I have a 500 MB of file. So this 500 MB of file, first it gets divided into the blocks basically. So let's say suppose here I will be storing as a one block 128 MB. Okay, I will be storing as a another block 128 MB, another one 128 MB. So basically (300) plus 128 512 MB. Yeah, so minus 3 blocks, 384 minus 500, 116 MB. So what so leftover is 116 The fourth block is 116 MB, right? So this I can call it as a block 1. This will be the block 2, this will be the block 3, this will be the block 4. So whatever leftover space, that is 12 MB, right? So this 12 MB, whatever the leftover space, this 12 MB, it cannot be accommodate the other data. So it cannot be occupied, so it will be like this only. So no data can occupy this block size. So this block size will be occupied with the 116 MB only, right? This is a MB. So these blocks get stored into the your cluster. Let's say suppose you have a 4 cluster, that is this is your master node, this is your master node, and this is your blocks. Let's say suppose you have a 4 blocks. So this is your slave node 1, this is your slave node 2, data node 2, this is a data node 3, this is a data node 4. Okay, data node 1, data node 2, data node 3, and data node 4, and this is your name node. Okay, so first this 500 MB, it pass the data to the name node, and name node will split this data, and based on the replication factor, basically replication factor means, so it will be duplicate the data, okay, and it will be duplicate data as per this replication factor, and it gets stored the data into the data nodes. Okay, let's say suppose my replication factor is 3. This is a configurable actually at Hadoop configurations. Okay, it can be configurable. Default is 3 size. 3 is the block size. So this will be replicated, and then these replications get stored into the all data nodes. Let's say suppose this is your data node 1, this is your data node 2, this is your data node 3, and this is your data node 4. Okay, 2, data node 3, and data node 4. Okay, and this replication factors will be get stored into the your data. Let me take this one for better understanding, right? So here I have the data, here I have the data, and this data is going to get stored into the this all data nodes. Let's say here block 1, this is my block 1 will be having a 3 replication, block 1, block 1, block 1, and then block 2 will get stored. Block 2 can be dynamic random level blocks gets stored. This is the block 2. My block 3, block 3, block 3, block 3, and this is my block 4. So here the block 4 gets stored, here the block 4 gets stored, here the block 4 gets stored. Otherwise, for your understanding, here also my block 4 gets stored, right? So this is how the blocks get stored by the your name node. right? So this is how your block gets stored into the name node, and whenever a user wants to retrieve the data, user wants to store the data, and if suppose a user wants to retrieve the data, so what it does is name node, it will take the request from the user, and based on the metadata, right, metadata, and it knows that from which data nodes the particular data is resides, and it will fetch the data from the respective data nodes, like this block 1 from this one, and block 2 from this one, and block 3 from this one. So like this, let's say block from this one, for your example, block 1 from this one, and block 2 from this one, and block 3 from this one. Okay, and this, and block 4, I think block 4 can be fetched from this one, and this all data gets fetched, and it merges, and it will give the output back to the, result back to the user, right? So this is how the data gets stored, and this is how the data taking from the data nodes, respective data nodes, and it will give the data back to the user. Okay, and to retrieve the data, we will be having this map reduce process, which has the job tracker and some kind of task tracker, we can say. This is a job tracker, this is a task tracker. Okay, so map reduce process. So to process the data, so we will be using this map reduce concept. So we will be discuss more on this one in the next video. So hope you able to understand. I have given some high level understanding on how data is get stored into the HDFS system. So on high level, I will recap this one. On high level, Hadoop is meant for to store and process the data. For store the data, we use the Hadoop file system, and to process the data, we use the map reduce processing. Okay, and how the HDFS is going to store is what is a HDFS means? It is a Hadoop Distributed File System, means it is a distributed system. Hadoop is like, okay, we can store the data, we can retrieve the data from the to and from the HDFS system, but we cannot edit the file in the Hadoop system. Okay, and let's say suppose Hadoop is a master and slave node cluster. Okay, what is a master and slave node cluster? It is a single master it will be having, and it can have a multiple data nodes. I can call it as a slave nodes or data nodes. Okay, and this master node I can call it as a name node also. Okay, and entire this cluster I can say as Hadoop cluster. Okay, and my master node, it holds the metadata, of the what data I have been storing into the data nodes. Okay, this metadata is means it is the data about the data, which means so what is the data I am getting, and how many blocks I have divided the data, and which data nodes I'm storing the data. So this kind of information, this kind of information I can call it as a metadata, and this metadata I can store into the my master node. Okay, and how my master node is how I can store the data into the HDFS. So basically here how master node, I can say how master node save the data into the data nodes in the HDFS cluster. Like, so first what it does is data gets split into the blocks wise. So this blocks is a configurable 64 MB or 128 MB. It's a configurable Hadoop configurations files we have. So in that we can configure this one. Okay, and these blocks going to be stored at the data nodes. Okay, let's see the pictorial form. First, let's say suppose I am receiving the 500 MB of file to store into the my name node. Okay, so first name node, what it does is it will split the data into the blocks wise, that is a 128 MB which has a configurable, and that blocks gets replicated. Let's say that is the replication is 3, and those replication factors, based on the replication factors, my blocks going to store into the data nodes, and this entire process is done by the name node. Okay, name node will decide which block is going to be which data node. Okay, and whenever I want to retrieve the data, I mean whenever a user asks for the to fetch the some file, then what it does is so based on the metadata, so it will fetch the blocks from the respective data nodes. It will merge the all blocks and it will give the data back to the user. So this is how the HDFS is going to be store the data and going to be fetch the data. Okay, so I hope this video given some high level understanding on how Hadoop is storing the data. That's all about this video, guys. Hope this video given some understanding on the big data and Hadoop related technologies. Please stay connected to our channel to know more insights of Hadoop related details. If you find this video as informative, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching this video. Take care. See you in the next informative video. Bye.